Today is March 4th, 2026. It's been over a year since I posted my last reading, which was February 20th, 2025. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of changes that have occurred in my life since then. As you can tell, I live somewhere else. Literally, I'm in a different room, right? I'm in a different space. I'm in a different season. I feel like a different person. I'm a different version of myself. I've been through things that that version of me couldn't even fathom. But I'm not really here to talk about myself. I'm here to continue to channel again. I have a different deck too. I have this now. Um, the other one was like lavender. It was very spacious and stuff like that. This one is as you can see, it's golden. I really like these cards a lot. You know, let me show you bottom of the deck. It's Page of Wands, right? Um, and it's in two languages. It's bilingual. You know, in English y español. Um, yeah, I'm not even gonna allow my ego to get into it because I haven't done readings. I haven't channeled readings in so long. So it's kind of like, what am I talking about? Who am I talking to? Who am I? You know, I really just want to get on here and like speak my truth a little bit. You know, whether that be through the cards or not. Um, I was doing a podcast at the time. I kind of don't feel like doing it in the same way anymore. It was called Gardener Hearts. And the last episode I did was episode 12. It was with Rochelle and Lawrence Empowers. And then more recently, I think like maybe in October of last year, something like that. At the end of last year, I was like, oh, Gardener Hearts is off of hiatus. I'm going to drop new episodes again and da 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 da. And basically I was reintroducing it, but structurally my life was so different at this point that it was never going to be the same format ever again. It wasn't going to be with the co-host anymore. It wasn't going to be with, there wasn't going to be any of the recurring guests necessarily. Um, and the version of myself is, like I said before, is different. So the space and the source that this energy is flowing from is completely different in its timbre and flavor. So it doesn't even feel like it's the same thing anymore. So I decided to rename it, rebrand it, all these things. So it's something that's more alignment to me and whatnot, which will be coming out soon. This is just really me recalibrating. I don't even want to get into like X, Y, and Z intentionally unless spirit decides to, speak through me in that type of way. I don't want to introduce resistance, but I want to just get used to speaking in front of the camera again. You know what I mean? I just wanted to get used to that one more time. And in a different format. I don't know if I had this computer back then, but I definitely wasn't doing it like this, you know. So this is, the first transmission of a star seed from this new space. You know, I kind of, I mean, that's really the name of the podcast now. It's Transmissions of a Star Seed. So transmission number one, or transmission zero. This is a pilot episode. I just want to speak on some things that I've been experiencing, and who resonates, right? Like the original podcast was a non-performative space for us to feel like safe, and like we can talk about like what's on our minds and in our hearts without feeling like it has to be entirely structured, organized, or really make sense to other people. It was for the sake of cultivating streams of consciousness with whoever's present. So now I'm the only person present, so it's only my streams of consciousness, you know. And I wonder, like, if introducing other people into the space was me justifying holding space for my streams of consciousness. You know what I mean? Allowing other people's presence to be permission for these streams of consciousness to prove to myself that these are valuable because there's people witnessing it immediately, you know? But the people who find it valuable may not be in my immediate proximity. They might be far across space and time. You might be watching this 3 years after I posted it. You might be watching this 10 years after I posted it. You might be 100 miles away from me. You might be on the other side of the planet. You might can't be in the past, right? But it's allowing myself to like break off of the chains. Break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. Um, Bust out the, what do they call them? The tricycle wheels. The restraints and the constrictions that I placed on myself of like this is the container, this is the way that this is supposed to be presented. Which is antithetical to the themes of the podcast in the first place, which is to subvert those expectations of how we're supposed to present our ideas, thoughts, and feelings. You know what I mean? Uh, it's basically an excuse for logorrhea, was the original thought of it. But now it's transformed into something else. Like me being intentional about the fact that these are transmissions. These are me sending information, emotion, and energetic charge across space and time. Like I knew that to be the case, but now I'm walking in complete intentionality of that truth without needing to shoulder it alongside other people because I was being called to accept that responsibility alone. You just have to accept that. Whether it be through certain heartbreaks, certain separations, certain schisms that occurred, whether that be in my personal life, in the community, romantically, platonically, familial connections that are no longer the same. All these things brought me back to center here into you see I'm literally rooted. Like I didn't necessarily plan it like this for the roots to be like right here, like literally depicting me as rooted and literally depicting the branches as emanating out of my mind. You know what I mean? Like I'm witnessing this for myself as well. I'm witnessing this symbolic representation of my energy in front of me as myself. I've had this tapestry for a while and I just liked it. Got it off T. It was like probably less than $5. Like I feel some type of way about that app, but I'm not even gonna get into that right now. What I really wanted to speak on is this thing that I call metaphor syndrome. Metaphor syndrome is the tendency to see symbolic messages in the mundane. It's the tendency to feel like the metaphysical and the physical worlds are overlapping in your life in a tangible way as you witness it experientially. So that'll sometimes that happens in brief spurts. Sometimes it happens in extended periods, like you'll feel this for like an extended period of time. Sometimes it'll be a specific moment in the day. But I have a specific instance of the most recent time this occurred. It's basically when you think about like Renee, is that his name? Renee? The dude who was talking about like life is but a dream. Where it's like your waking life is a dream and and you can dream while you're awake, but when you're asleep, your dreams are awareness. Like the fact that these two things are not truly separable. These experiences are not truly separable. So the way that your dreams are laden with symbolism and subconscious representations of emotional experiences, and it's a projection of a message directly to you. The images and the experiences and the feelings and the events that occur within the dream are all for the purpose of communicating something to you. Or it's the it's the after effects of your nervous system's synthesis of things you've already been through. which even that, there's a gray area between those two things. So that can occur in your waking life. We have this perception around the outside world that like it impresses upon us, but if you're in this space, if you're attracted to this energy, the title Transmissions of a Starseed, then you are most likely familiar with the concept of your life being a reflection of your energy. So I don't even have to go into that too deeply right now. But I say that to say that if you dream while you're awake, you can consider that the things that happen to you, even if they seem random, happenstance, or coincidence, that there's something that's trying to be communicated. Or at least your interpretation of those experiences communicates something to you. Stay with me, stay with me. So, I'm I set that all up to preface what I'm about to describe to you. So, as I've navigated between last reading and now, I've been through a lot of things. I've been through um, the passing of my grandmother. I've been through homelessness. I've been through, breakups. I've been through schisms in the community, like I was saying. I've been through, survival mode, not knowing what I was going to eat, not knowing where I was going to sleep, still having to go to work, um, trying to go to school, trying to go back to college, taking autonomy for my own life, trying to grasp agency, autonomy, and power over the trajectory of, my experience on Earth. It's been challenging, but I'm protected, and I feel grateful for reaching here. Because this may not have happened, but it's I've been uniquely positioned in a place that's truly a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for understanding and understanding that things had to happen the way that they happened without going into the specifics. But even as it was occurring, I had this clairsentience that like I'm like shooting directly towards where I'm supposed to be going. Like I had very little doubt in the depths of the homelessness and like sleeping out in the woods and stuff like that I was going the wrong way. That type of stuff only surfaced when I got here and things began to slow down. And I learned, my sixth house is in Aries, and so my energy and my consistency and my habits and like my energy is sustained by being in motion consistently. So as I was homeless, I was in motion consistently because there's no stability, there's nowhere to go. So I was really vitalized and invigorated by that. Ironically, now that I had somewhere to like stabilize myself and ground myself, my nervous system needed this, but it made it difficult for me to combat the emotional challenges that came up because the way that I combat emotional experiences is through motion. Stay with me. That's also like my propensity towards dance and working out, and I do TikToks while I walk and stuff like that. So these things were necessary, but I thought to myself, how could it not be what God is asking of me than to take the reins of my life and to take it into my own hands, supporting and funding and investing in myself. In many ways, this is the case, right? But I'm specifically talking towards my relationship with finances because the relationship with self worth, finances, and career is connected to a generational curse that runs in my bloodline. And when I witnessed this, there was a certain point in time where I finally acknowledged that this is what I have to do to sever it. And I'm living on the other side of that, the other side of the portal with that. But the thing is that that energy will consistently try to come back into my life like weeds. And the only way that it will properly do that and successfully do that is if I allow myself to remain attached to the energy signature of those weeds. Whether that be through my patterns of thinking, my patterns of behavior, my beliefs, so on and so forth. If I stick the course, then it'll be dead for good. You know what I mean? And that's a consistent like day to day thing. You know. So I say that to say, what I thought to myself was, I have a job, but they cut my hours. I'll get another job. If they don't hire me, then I'll hustle. You know what I mean? I'll move. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that online, but I'll do this. I'll do that. I boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? And got products, got services, goods and services. You know what I mean? Like doing DoorDash, doing X, Y, and Z, Gig Smart, yada yada yada, boom, boom, boom. Right? Everything was not working. Gig Smart, I got banned. DoorDash, my bike got stolen. I got 3 different bikes through different means. They all got stolen. It might be 4 bikes, but one of these bikes I was riding on, I got hit by a car. Luckily, I was fine, but the bike was destroyed beyond repair. Then recently, I was like, I'm gonna invest again. I'm gonna make a smart investment. I'm gonna take an adult risk and invest in an e-scooter along with the gear. And I'm going to make this money back because I'm going to do the orders. Mathematically, this was possible. This is not an absurd concept. This is mathematically possible. I did the numbers. I ran the numbers. It's possible. I mean, anything is possible for real. But like within the time frame that I gave myself, it was theoretically possible. However, I had this scooter for a week. I was riding it. I rode it like maybe 3 or 4 different occasions to get used to using the vehicle first. And then when I got used to using the vehicle, I was like, all right, time to turn on DoorDash. I got my first order, $20. Tell me why the scooter broke down. Like right away. Like I was like, all right, got the order. I was like, all right, I think I just died. I thought I charged it. I didn't know that it only drove for that long. On the thing, it says that it lasts like maybe 6, 8 hours. That's a whole shift. I should be fine. So I go plug it in, I charge it. It never turns back on. I get it. They canceled the first order. I'm like, all right, cool. I just you know get the other order, and then I'll wait for it to charge a little bit. You know what I mean? I was gonna finesse it a little bit, and then I was gonna come back. At least I had $30 in my pocket, and then I can finish charging it after, and I'll like say pause the orders after this one. Never turned on. That order got canceled too. I had to tell them no. I had to cancel it myself. I had to tell them that I got hit. I got in a car accident, which theoretically it is a vehicle accident. So I'm not really lying. But the scooter never came back on. I charged it. I charged it all the way. It kept on having electronic errors. I'm like, okay, this is a mechanical or an electrical error. So I go to the manufacturer. I have 2 warranties. I have the Walmart warranty and the manufacturer's warranty. So I go to the manufacturer's warranty first, and they're like, "Okay, so you got to do this thing. You got to unscrew the top of the the footboard, and you got to see what's underneath the footboard with the battery and the wires and stuff like that." Something in me was afraid of doing that because the video that they gave me as a demonstration had the power drill, and I didn't have that, so I had to manually unscrew it. And I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be a lot of work." I'm already like, emotionally whatever. I procrastinated for 2 days. When I finally did it, I realized really wasn't that hard. Like it really was not that hard. I was procrastinating for no reason, you know. So I did it. It was easy. But even as I was unscrewing it, I felt like the sensation of fear. And as that happened, I was like receiving within my mind's eye through clairsentience that the metaphor syndrome thing was about to happen. It was going to be a metaphysical and physical overlap about whatever I was going to see when I opened up this thing. Because it was literally a black box. I don't know if you know about the symbolism of a black box, but when you open a black box, it's like Pandora's box. It's like you're opening something and like things will dramatically change after this box is open. Basically, it's like something that like maybe you should keep closed. So I'm unscrewing this thing, and within my spirit, I hear this voice saying like, "This is something that this represents something that you were avoiding." Because in the physical realm, you were also avoiding it. You were literally avoiding it. But what it represents symbolically and figuratively is also something you're avoiding energetically. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever this thing is, I have to confront it now. Because the longer I avoid it, the more catastrophic its consequences can be. And what gave me the courage to do that is actually watching this anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm not going to spoil it, but basically the main character has tendencies towards avoidance, and every time he avoids something or like distances himself from the expectations and like the pressure that's being put on him by other people, catastrophe occurs. So he feels like he's like stuck in this loop of like, leaving things behind, but then like he's drawn back to it. So by the end of it, I realized there was a lot of things that he could have avoided, a lot of catastrophic things that happened while he was in a space of avoidance, while he was in a space of shutdown, where he like trying to hide and like stuck in his feelings. He was stuck in his feelings. He was stuck in his emotions, and there was a lot of things that like happened while he was out of commission. So I'm like, oh, I'm out of commission right now because I'm avoiding, unscrewing this scooter. So I was like, all right, I have to do this thing, or else the consequences will only magnify over time. The sooner I get this thing done, the better. So that's what I did. I unscrewed the thing, and tell me why it was filled with water. I'm a Pisces, by the way. My birthday is literally in 4 days. It's not like I've never reflected on the element of water before, but this thing was filled with water. You could literally smell melted plastic, and that was the reason for the electrical failure because water got inside the scooter. There was a blizzard in Boston, so I'm assuming that maybe the snow got in, or maybe hydroplaned over a puddle and somehow it got inside. I don't know. I literally don't know. But come to find out, water damage is not covered on either of the two warranties. So they're like, tough luck. Just buy a replacement. I can't buy a replacement. I was supposed to be making that money back. Now I'm down $400. I choose not to regret. I intentionally choose not to vibrate on the frequency of regret because that's not going to bring anything back. That's just going to take me out of the game further. You know what I mean? Like when you're on the court and you're balling up, you make a mistake. If you just get in your head about that, then your head is not in the game anymore. There's more things that you have to do, more moves, more points to score, more things to do. The game is still going. Life is still going. Life is still continuing on. The the things that you're striving to accomplish remain the same despite the setbacks, despite the blockages, despite the hurdles, despite the terrain that you must traverse through. Your destination remains the same unless you're choosing to change your destination. Are you doing that? No. So I'm like, all right, let me stay in it. But ever since then, I've been reflecting on the vibration and the element of water. Cause I'm like, what are y'all trying to tell me about water? Um, and shout out Jadina. Uh, if y'all know her channel, but like she had a post about the element of water recently that I resonated with heavily. It was a more abstract video about like the things that water represents on a figurative scale, but I definitely resonated with it anyways. Although these are things that I've reflected on before. I know I've reflected on these things before. Like I had a whole moment with these things. Like I've had seasons just contemplating and resonating and embodying the vibrations of water in my life. I mean, that's how I feel like I got here. You know, so I'm like, what is it that I have yet to see about water? What is it that I have yet to consider? You know, like water is feelings. You know, like is there feelings that I'm not. But what does that have to do with getting money? You know what I mean? Like I'll allow myself to find clarity on those things moving forward, rather than trying to force a sense of understanding now. But these a story is written in the most beautiful way by asking the right questions. So with that, I will leave you. I'm gonna let you go now. Peace and love.